In the age of smartphones, communication has never been easier. A message can travel across the globe in seconds, and the tiny buzz of a notification can bring instant relief or excitement. Yet for those entangled with a narcissist, the phone is not a tool of connection, it becomes a weapon. What should be a lifeline for love, reassurance, and intimacy is twisted into a silent battlefield where power is contested one text at a time. If you have ever stared at your screen, anxiously waiting for a reply you know was seen but deliberately ignored, you have felt the sting of one of the narcissist's most deceptive games. The psychology behind these digital maneuvers is far more calculated than it appears. Most people assume a late response is harmless. Life is busy after all. Phones die, meetings run long, and family emergencies happen. But when you are dealing with a narcissist, silence is rarely innocent. It is deliberate. They understand that time itself can be manipulated. The gap between sending a message and receiving a reply is transformed into a psychological trap where your mind begins to unravel. Doubt creeps in, anxiety builds, and your sense of worth begins to erode. Every minute of waiting reinforces the narcissist's control, teaching you, subtly but effectively, that their attention must be earned, chased, and treasured when it finally arrives. This is what makes the delay game so insidious. By withholding responses, narcissists are not simply ignoring you, they are conditioning you. Each unanswered message becomes a test, and the more desperate you become for their validation, the more power they feel. It's a form of training that relies on intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that keeps gamblers hooked at slot machines. Just when you've had enough and are ready to detach, they suddenly reappear with a casual, "Hey," or a meaningless meme. That small ping of attention feels like oxygen after suffocating silence. Relief floods in, and in that moment, the narcissist has succeeded. They have taught you to equate their crumbs of communication with emotional value, ensuring you remain hooked. But the manipulation doesn't stop at delays. There are layers to these games. One of the most destabilizing is the cycle of blocking and unblocking. In one moment, you are cut off entirely, left reeling and questioning what you did wrong. Just as you begin to accept the loss, you are unblocked, sometimes even greeted as if nothing happened. This cruel seesaw between rejection and inclusion is not random. It is designed to make you dependent, to keep you forever uncertain, and to maintain the narcissist's position of control. You are left dancing to their rhythm, never certain of the ground beneath your feet. What makes these tactics so destructive is the way they gradually rewire your sense of self-worth. Instead of expecting mutual respect and consistent care, you begin to lower your standards. You make excuses for them. They must be busy. Maybe you're texting too much. Perhaps it's your fault. The narcissist never corrects these assumptions because they work in their favor. As long as you are blaming yourself, they remain unchallenged. Over time, you stop seeing silence and manipulation as abuse. You start to mistake it for normalcy. Yet beneath the surface of these games lies a profound truth. Every one of these tactics only works if you keep playing. The moment you stop waiting by the phone, the moment you refuse to equate delayed responses with your worth, the narcissist's power begins to crumble. Their silence loses its edge when it no longer unsettles you. Their crumbs feel hollow when you've learned to nourish yourself with genuine love, self-respect, and meaningful connections outside of their grasp. The smartphone should never be a weapon used against your peace of mind. It should connect you to people who value you, who care for you, and who are eager, not reluctant, to share their presence in your life. When you reclaim that truth, the narcissist's games lose their potency. Their silence becomes just silence. Their blocks become irrelevant. Their crumbs lose all flavor. Because what their games reveal is not your inadequacy, it is their emptiness. And here lies the ultimate victory. The narcissist may continue to manipulate, to play their tired games of delay, silence, and false reappearances. But once you see the pattern, once you recognize the manipulation for what it is, you are no longer a participant. Their obsession with control collides with your refusal to be controlled. In that moment, you take back not just your phone, but your freedom. For most people, communication is meant to connect. A message, a call, or even a small gesture serves to reassure us that we matter to someone else. But in the hands of a narcissist, communication is stripped of its genuine purpose and transformed into a calculated tool for control. What may seem like small, random actions, a late-night meme, a single emoji reaction, or a sudden block on social media, are anything but random. They are deliberate moves in a larger psychological game designed to destabilize you and ensure you remain emotionally invested. One of the most confusing and addictive strategies they use is what can be called the breadcrumb game. At first glance, breadcrumbs look like signs of care. A text that says, "Thinking of you," a half-hearted compliment, or a reaction to your story might spark hope that the narcissist genuinely cares. But the truth is far darker. These crumbs are not meant to nourish you or build connection. They are bait. The narcissist knows that if they gave you consistent, steady attention, you would begin to feel secure, confident, and stable, 3 qualities that undermine their ability to control you. Stability gives you freedom, and freedom threatens their grip. So instead, they withhold genuine engagement and offer only slivers of attention at carefully chosen moments. These crumbs arrive just as you begin to pull away, reigniting your hope and drawing you back into orbit. Neuroscience tells us why this works. Humans are wired to respond to intermittent rewards. Each unexpected crumb of attention sparks the brain's reward system, releasing a small surge of dopamine. That chemical hit feels good, and soon you find yourself craving more. Much like a gambler pulling the lever of a slot machine, you remain hooked, not because the rewards are consistent, but because they are unpredictable. This is the genius and cruelty of the breadcrumb game. You stay attached, even though deep down you know you're starving. Over time, this conditioning shifts your standards. What once seemed like the bare minimum begins to feel monumental. A simple "good morning" text can suddenly feel like a grand act of devotion because you have been deprived of consistency. The narcissist relies on this distortion. If you accept crumbs as love, they never need to offer you genuine nourishment. They can keep their energy free for themselves while still keeping you emotionally tethered. The game also allows them to juggle multiple people at once, tossing crumbs to different individuals so that no one feels secure, but everyone remains hooked. It is a system designed not for love, but for control, a selfish strategy that maximizes their ego while minimizing their effort. But the breadcrumbs are only one piece of the puzzle. Narcissists often escalate the manipulation by wielding one of their cruelest tactics, the blocking and unblocking cycle. Few things can destabilize someone more than being suddenly cut off without explanation. To be blocked is to be erased in an instant, and for those who care deeply, it feels like a gut punch. You stare at your phone in disbelief, replay conversations in your head, and search desperately for what you might have done wrong. The silence is deafening, and the rejection cuts to the core. That reaction is exactly what the narcissist intends. Blocking is not about needing space. It is not about boundaries. It is a weapon. By blocking you, they punish you, destabilize you, and plant seeds of confusion that keep you fixated on them. Questions swirl endlessly in your mind. Did you cross a line? Did they find someone else? Should you apologize for something you don't understand? The narcissist counts on this uncertainty because clarity would free you. If you knew the truth, you could make a decision and walk away. But uncertainty keeps you stuck, waiting, hoping, and doubting yourself. The cruel genius of this tactic is that the narcissist holds all the power during the silence. They know you are pacing emotionally, restless and anxious, while they sit comfortably in the knowledge that they control the terms of the relationship. And just when you begin to find peace, acceptance, or the strength to move forward, they reverse the game. The block disappears. You are unblocked, often without explanation, as if nothing happened. This whiplash between rejection and reacceptance is designed to keep you in a constant state of instability, always wondering where you stand, and always longing for solid ground that never comes. What makes these games so damaging is not just the immediate pain, but the gradual erosion of your self-worth. When you begin to mistake crumbs for love or silence for your fault, you lower your standards without realizing it. You convince yourself that you're asking for too much when in reality, you are asking for the bare minimum: respect, honesty, and consistency. The narcissist thrives on this distortion because as long as you are questioning yourself, you are not questioning them. Breaking free begins with recognition. Crumbs are not love, they are bait. Blocking is not a boundary, it is punishment. And silence is not your fault, it is a manipulation. The moment you refuse to chase crumbs, the moment you decide that love should be nourishing rather than depleting, the narcissist loses their power. They cannot control someone who recognizes their tactics for what they are. By reclaiming your worth and demanding more than crumbs, you step out of their game entirely. And in that step, you begin to reclaim not just your phone or your peace of mind, but your freedom. There are few moments more disorienting than when your phone lights up after a long stretch of silence. Out of nowhere, a message appears, as if the previous days or weeks of being ignored never existed. It could be something as simple as "hey," yet in that instant, it feels like a gift. The relief is overwhelming, and the ache of abandonment temporarily dissolves. But this is not connection, nor is it reconciliation. It is the second half of a calculated cycle. The narcissist gives back access not because they miss you or because they've had a change of heart, but because they want to reestablish control. They want to prove that they can vanish and reappear entirely on their terms, and that you will still be there waiting, ready to pick up the thread as if nothing happened. This cycle of blocking and unblocking, of silence followed by sudden re-entry, is not random. It is a form of psychological conditioning, one that works much like training an animal. Each time you are blocked, you feel pain, confusion, rejection, and loss. Each time you are unblocked, you feel relief, hope, validation, and temporary closeness. Over time, this repeated pattern teaches you to tolerate mistreatment and still come back when called. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you may start to normalize the behavior. You convince yourself that perhaps this is just how relationships are, unstable, uncertain, always shifting beneath your feet. Yet deep down, you feel the instability, the fear, and the gnawing insecurity that comes from never knowing if today you will be welcomed or shut out. The tragedy of this cycle is the way it warps your sense of value. Instead of believing that consistent access and respect are the basic foundations of a relationship, you begin to see them as privileges you must earn. You start to mistake being unblocked as an act of grace, rather than seeing it for what it truly is, a manipulative tactic designed to reinforce dominance. But blocking and unblocking is not love. It is control. A healthy person communicates boundaries with clarity and respect. They do not disappear without explanation or use silence as a form of punishment. When you recognize the difference, the spell begins to break. You no longer have to wait for access to be granted. You can choose instead to block the cycle itself by walking away. That is the moment the narcissist's grip on you begins to end. But the cycle of blocking is only one face of a broader tactic, the silent treatment. Among all the manipulations narcissists employ, silence may be the most subtle and the most devastating. Unlike shouting or insults, silence leaves no visible scars, but its impact can be far deeper. When your calls go unanswered, when your messages are left unread, when your voice disappears into a void, the absence itself becomes a weapon. You are left to wrestle with the questions. Did I say something wrong? Are they angry? Am I simply not worth their time? That spiral of confusion is precisely what the narcissist wants. Because when you are questioning yourself, you are not questioning them. The silent treatment is not an accident, it is deliberate. It is a way of punishing you, of regaining control, of elevating themselves above you without saying a single word. Narcissists know that withholding communication leaves you desperate for resolution. In that desperation, you send more messages, make more calls, and bend over backwards to appease them. Each unanswered attempt deepens their sense of power. In their mind, your frantic effort to reach them confirms their superiority. They don't need to yell. They simply need to withhold, and the silence itself does the work. What makes this tactic so harmful is that it strikes at one of the most fundamental human needs, the need for connection. Healthy relationships are built on communication. Even during conflict, the act of speaking and listening allows for resolution and growth. Silence, when weaponized, denies that opportunity. It keeps you trapped in limbo, unable to move forward because you never know where you stand. Over time, it plants seeds of worthlessness, shame, and self-doubt. You begin to internalize the idea that your voice doesn't matter, that your feelings are unimportant, and that even the smallest acknowledgement of your existence must somehow be earned. In the digital age, this tactic has only grown sharper. A narcissist doesn't need to disappear entirely to make their point. They can ignore your messages while still being visibly active online. You see them posting stories, liking photos, updating statuses, all while they continue to leave you unread. The contrast is deliberate, a calculated sting that communicates, I have time for everyone else, but not for you. That kind of rejection cuts even deeper than silence alone because it shows you the choice they are making. They can engage with you, but they don't. And that absence becomes a louder message than any words could convey. For those on the receiving end, the silent treatment via technology can feel like emotional torture. It destabilizes you, makes you doubt your worth, and convinces you to chase after the very person who is harming you. But here lies the crucial truth. Silence is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their manipulation. The healthiest response is not to beg for acknowledgement or chase after communication, but to step back and refuse to participate in the game. When you stop giving power to their silence, you reclaim your own. The phone that once felt like a weapon in their hands can become a tool of freedom in yours. Instead of staring at it, waiting for it to light up, you can redirect your energy toward what brings you peace, purpose, and joy. You can remind yourself that love is not found in crumbs of attention, in the torment of being blocked and unblocked, or in the silence that leaves you doubting your own worth. Love is steady, respectful, and nourishing. And when you hold on to that truth, the cycle finally loses its grip. You stop waiting for their message, and instead, you begin to write a new one for yourself. A life free of their games, rooted in dignity, clarity, and self-respect. The narcissist may try to erase your voice through silence, but the moment you recognize that your worth is not defined by their response, you begin to reclaim the control they have worked so hard to hold over you. This realization is crucial because silence is only one of their many weapons. In the modern world, social media has become one of their most effective arenas of manipulation. It provides them with a stage where they can perform, project, and provoke without ever having to face direct accountability. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are not simply tools for connection in their hands. They are instruments of power, allowing the narcissist to decide what you see, what you don't, and how you feel about it. At first glance, their online activity may look harmless. A quick like on someone's photo, a casual story post, or even tagging another person might seem insignificant. But beneath these seemingly ordinary actions lies a carefully crafted strategy. Every click, every omission, every fleeting presence in your notifications carries weight. They are not random gestures. They are calculated moves designed to keep you hooked, unsettled, and emotionally invested in them. One of the most common forms of this manipulation is the deliberate creation of jealousy. The narcissist knows how deeply humans are wired to fear replacement, and they exploit that fear with precision. They may suddenly flood their feed with pictures alongside new friends, highlight social gatherings where you are noticeably absent, or showcase a relationship that looks suddenly intimate. These displays are never innocent. They are meant to sting. The underlying message is clear. Look how desirable I am. Look how easily I can replace you. What might appear to others as simple documentation of life is, for you, a knife twisted into your sense of stability. The intent is not joy or celebration. It is provocation, designed to leave you insecure, unstable, and desperate to win back their focus. Alongside this jealousy game, they weave an intermittent engagement, a tactic that mirrors breadcrumbing in digital form. Just when you start to feel forgotten, they appear with the smallest flicker of attention. Perhaps they will like one of your posts after ignoring your messages for days. Perhaps they will leave a vague, almost meaningless comment, or quietly watch every story you upload without saying a word. These gestures may be tiny, but they carry an outsized impact because of their scarcity. Each small act reignites hope that maybe they still care, that maybe the silence has ended. And in that moment of hope, you find yourself reattached to the cycle once again. It is control without conversation, power without presence, yet it is effective because it feeds on your natural longing for connection. The manipulation does not stop there. Social media also becomes the narcissist's canvas for rewriting reality itself. Behind the scenes, you may be enduring neglect, lies, or emotional cruelty, but what the world sees online tells a very different story. They post smiling photos, romantic gestures, or inspirational captions that make them appear kind, successful, and loving. For anyone scrolling, they look like the ideal partner or friend. For you, it creates a jarring disconnect between private truth and public image. You know the pain, but you watch as the world praises the mask. This can be one of the most destabilizing aspects of their manipulation because it makes you question your own experiences. If everyone else sees them as charming and desirable, you may wonder if you were the problem all along. This is no accident. It is strategic reputation management designed to isolate you in your suffering. Their control extends even further into subtle, private games that blur the line between presence and absence. They may unfollow you suddenly, then refollow later, ensuring you never feel secure about where you stand. They may withhold engagement with your posts, not because they haven't seen them, but because they know that withholding validation will make you crave it even more. And when you begin to pull away, they resurface at just the right moment, watching your stories, leaving small traces of their presence in your digital space, reminding you that they are never truly gone. It is a constant push and pull, a game of emotional yo-yo where you are kept dangling, never fully free but never fully close. Breaking free from this manipulation begins with clarity. Their posts, their likes, their silence, all of it is deliberate, all of it is strategy. None of it is a reflection of your worth. When you stop interpreting their online actions as messages about who you are, you begin to dismantle the control they hold. Sometimes the healthiest and most powerful choice is to remove them entirely from your digital world. Unfollow, mute, or block if necessary. This is not weakness, but an act of self-preservation. Your peace cannot depend on the crumbs of attention they scatter in a digital playground. When you step away from the illusions they create, you begin to see the truth. Their social media is a performance, not reality. And the moment you refuse to be part of the audience, you are no longer under their spell. The turning point in every dynamic with a narcissist comes when you refuse to play. They thrive on your reaction, whether it's your confusion, your chasing, your anger, or even your silence when it is born of hurt. Every response fuels them, and every ounce of emotional energy you pour into decoding their behavior keeps the cycle alive. Their phone games, whether it is delaying replies, breadcrumbing, blocking, or deploying silence, only work as long as you continue to engage. But when you step back, recognize the pattern, and choose not to participate, the entire structure begins to collapse. Refusal to play is not about pretending to ignore them while secretly waiting for their return. It is about truly reclaiming your energy, about refusing to be moved by their manipulations. It begins with awareness, with the decision to see their behavior as tactics rather than truths. Every delayed text, every half-hearted hey, every sudden block or unblock is not a reflection of your value, but a calculated move to keep you off balance. When you stop personalizing these actions, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster they designed for you. And in that freedom, the cycle breaks, not because they chose to release you, but because you chose to release yourself. Instead of spiraling into self-blame or frantic attempts to fix what feels broken, you can pause, take a breath, and calmly acknowledge the truth. This is not love. This is a pattern. This is manipulation. That single shift in awareness is profoundly powerful. It marks the moment you stop seeing yourself as trapped inside the narcissist game and begin to step outside of it. From that vantage point, you no longer react as a victim, but as an observer, and from observer you evolve into a decision maker. This change of perspective is not small, it is the foundation of freedom. When you recognize a pattern for what it is, the next step naturally becomes setting boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments, they are acts of protection. They are a way of declaring to yourself and to others that your peace, your dignity, and your mental clarity are non-negotiable. Refusal to play the narcissist game is not passive withdrawal, it is an active, conscious choice to shield your well-being. In practice, this might look like choosing not to respond immediately when they resurface after days of silence. It might mean refusing to dignify the vague, late-night text that says nothing yet pulls at your emotions. It could mean resisting the urge to scroll through their curated social media posts designed to provoke jealousy or insecurity. And in more decisive cases, it may mean blocking them entirely, removing their access to your life, so they no longer have a doorway to re-enter and destabilize you. At first, these choices often feel uncomfortable, even unnatural. If you are someone who has been conditioned to chase after answers, to smooth things over, or to hold yourself responsible for keeping a relationship afloat, breaking that cycle can feel like breaking a piece of yourself. There is a discomfort in saying no to habits that once felt like survival. Yet every time you resist the urge to play, you plant a seed of strength. With each refusal, your inner resolve grows firmer, and the grip of their control loosens. Over time, what once felt unbearable, ignoring their attempts to bait you, begins to feel like relief. The beauty of this refusal is that it does not merely protect you, it exposes them. Without your participation, the narcissist is forced to confront something they cannot tolerate, their own emptiness. Their power has never come from within. It has always come from extracting reactions, attention, and energy from others. When you stop supplying that fuel, their tactics fall flat. In desperation, they may escalate for a while. You might notice more messages, more sudden drama online, or attempts to guilt-trip you into re-engagement. This escalation is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is confirmation that your refusal is working. Narcissists do not know how to sustain power in a vacuum. Without a willing participant, the game collapses. Most importantly, refusing to play is not merely about depriving them of control, it is about reclaiming yourself. Each time you choose silence over reaction, each time you choose peace over chaos, you send a message to your own soul. I deserve better. I deserve respect. I deserve more than crumbs. These small, quiet affirmations accumulate over time, reshaping how you see yourself and what you are willing to accept from others. That reclamation of self-worth is where true healing begins. What often becomes clear in this process is the stark difference between manipulation and love. Love is not a game of baiting and withholding. It does not leave you guessing, starving for attention, or waiting by the phone for scraps of acknowledgement. Real love is steady. It is consistent. It nourishes instead of depleting. It builds rather than erodes. When you walk away from the endless cycles of push and pull, you create space in your life for something far more genuine to take root. Refusal, then, is not a loss. It is the greatest victory. It is the act of breaking a cycle that was never designed for your growth, only for your diminishment. By refusing to play, you are not walking away empty-handed. You are walking away with the one thing that matters most, yourself, whole, stronger, and ready for connections that honor the love you truly deserve.